Alright, so the Indicate video's finished, and you've had a video where you got to see me, but aside from that, I'm pretty sure I'm going back to this format here where I'm just going to be speaking over a visual. It's better for so many reasons. It's more flexible for me. It maybe more importantly avoids people being distracted by how my glasses look, how the background looks, what shirt I'm wearing. None of that matters, and we're not going to let it. This is all cloud time-lapse that I took about 6 years ago, in summer of 2012 in Atlanta. This is actually relevant here because Atlanta's got much higher temperatures and much more temperature variance than what we're used to out here in Los Angeles, so the clouds are much more dramatic. I've always had an interest in clouds. That's something that I find fascinating for a myriad of reasons. I mean, we could go into a bunch of little science facts about like, oh, a medium-sized cloud has more moisture than an entire lake, which is cool. And of course, it's floating and it's often bigger than an entire skyscraper. And literally, they come in and out of existence over our heads, flying in the skies. And yeah, we take them for granted. And there's a bunch of reasons for that, right? I mean, there's no scarcity to them. We assume there'll be more the next day. They're transient. They don't last super long. They don't have clear economic value to us, in part because we can't deny them from others. We can't put a wall up around it and charge admission. We can't put a sticker on it and brand it and label it, give it a price tag, and so they come and go, with nobody speaking out for, hey, isn't this amazing? Isn't this phenomenal? Isn't this slow motion fireworks in the sky that we have every single day something spectacular? I mean, if clouds didn't exist and someone tried to make them up in a work of fiction, whether it's a game, whether it's a movie special effect, whether it's a novel, and they're trying to describe these enormous visual things just morphing, shaping, appearing, and destroying each other in the sky, sometimes falling down on the people around them, so much so it shapes land and affects life on the planet, it would just seem like the most bizarre, otherworldly, unimaginable thing possible. And yet, because we see them all our lives, we're surrounded by them, we see them day after day, we have a tendency to take them for granted, see them all as the same, completely ignore them. And I like that too as just an example for the fact there's probably many other things in our lives that are like that too. Things we've stopped paying attention to. Things we take for granted. Things that are beautiful and amazing and spectacular and free and available to us that we don't give our attention to because it hasn't been marketed to us. One of the ways I think it's useful to think about why that happens is that a lot of our interpretation of the world around us is kind of like we're surrounded by translators. Translators who are telling us what to make out of the things that we see and the things that are happening. And like any translator, they're imperfect. And maybe, because they're not professional translators, some of them are self-serving. Some of them are just genuinely poorly informed. But if we're not careful, we'll begin to let those translators create the world that we live in. We'll start to live in the space as we are told it exists. From talking heads on television, from people we see and hear on Twitter, from just other things than ourselves. And it focuses our attention in a way that maybe isn't how we personally would choose to drive it if we weren't letting them drive it instead. And so maybe that's really where I'm getting with this for today. And I'm going to use this video again repeatedly. I probably won't usually talk about the clouds because, well, today you kind of got the explanation for them. But every time we see clouds, it's a chance to remind ourselves of how much we can experience something for ourselves in our own way and find value in it. Even if others don't, even if others aren't trying to make a big deal out of it. It's something that we can do for ourselves. It's something that we can have an appreciation of. In much the same way as we might for a project that we like. A creative endeavor that we've become passionate about. A dream we have that we're pursuing. That maybe someone else hasn't made the case to for us. Maybe someone else hasn't pushed on us. And that's okay. To not let them bump in and tell you what to make of it. To not let them come in and give you a mistaken interpretation, a mistranslation of what it is that we want to do.